Now, this hate crime happened nearly 500 miles away, but it's still felt here in East Tennessee. Arnold Cohen with the Knoxville Jewish Alliance joins us now by phone. Mr. Cohen, thanks for coming on tonight.
Hello. I'm happy.
When we spoke earlier, you said an attack like this on a Saturday morning, on the Sabbath, it's not a coincidence.
No, it's not a coincidence. The Sabbath is a wonderful time for Jews in synagogues because they're concentrated on praying and not on being attacked.
Right, and this is not the first time that we have seen a synagogue attacked. What's the typical response from the Jewish community when something like this happens?
Well, we traditionally try to lend support wherever there's a tragedy of this kind or many other kinds, such as Katrina or things of that nature. And so, since it's the Sabbath, there have been no formal gatherings. I'm sure people who have been together have talked. So traditionally, we will not only pray and give goodwill, but can contact the people we know in the community, but we'll also facilitate contributions of money and materials if it's appropriate.
Now, you said it's important for people in East Tennessee to care about what happened in Pittsburgh today. Why do you think that's true?
Because attacks of this kind are intended to terrorize people. That's the essence of a hate crime. They are not only directed at the immediate victims, but they're directed at the wider community. So although we're extremely saddened by this, we're not surprised because the Jewish communities around the United States and Europe, South America, have been under various kinds of attacks for many years. Sometimes they have resulted in tragedies, and fortunately, particularly in Knoxville, due to good law enforcement and the FBI and local law enforcement, we've been kept safe, as have the Muslim Arabic community. And we have the bitter experience of having the Unitarian Church attacked by a shooter not too many years ago.
Well, thoughts from around the world will be with Pittsburgh tonight. Arnold Cohen with the Knoxville Jewish Alliance, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Bye-bye.